Shalom. All praises to Yahweh Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakadash. Double honors to the elder apostles, the bishops, and the elders of GMS. Over well, peace, and salutations to the elect. My name is Aina. The title of this video is The Horror That Rides the Beast. And ultimately, I'm reading in Revelation chapter 17. But this guy mentioned the beast in this video as I was watching it. And usually I listen to a lot of my videos because I'm driving. And I thought he said Russia said that they're meeting with the beast, but that's not what happened. But it doesn't really matter because that's exactly what Russia's going to do regarding these peace talks. But we understand that peace won't happen. But obviously, they're going to continue to play and trick and deceive to try to get what they want done, right? And when I say they, I mean America, right? Ultimately, the Amalekites, right? The banking elite who run the world. Right, they have a agenda that they want to fulfill, and a part of that agenda is, taking over Russia, right? And a part of the agenda is taking over the world. Taking over China, taking over Russia, taking over Iran. And it's interesting because Russia tried to join, NATO, and that's why they have a thing where it says all wars are bankers' wars. That's an actual video that you can look up and find on YouTube if they haven't taken down. All wars are bankers' wars, right? The old apostle Gabar speaks about it a lot, right? And basically, it goes back to the bankers, right? Because they make money, they fund the war on both sides, and it brings debt, right, to both sides, kind of like America. So they always wanted to go to war with Russia, ultimately to bring in the money, right? Revelations 20 tells us. Right. So going to Revelations 20, usually with this, Satan bound reach the verse to the third verse here. And to get the understanding of what's taking place is you skip down to the seventh verse. That's where it picks back up, because going to the fourth verse, it goes into the new kingdom, right? And basically what happened to us here, right? And you can also get Second Esdras 2, right down towards the bottom. I'll read a little bit of this real quick. It says Revelation 20 and 4. It says, and I saw thrones, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahweh Shai and for the word of Yahweh Bashem Shai. And we're telling you now that those individuals be some of us, the hopeful elect, some of the prophets, right? Matthew 24 goes to that, where it says he shall cast some of you into prisons and things like that. So we are well aware of what this devil think he has planned for us, right? It says, in which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands, and they lived and reigned with Yahweh Shai 1,000 years. See, so this is what we're going to do in the kingdom, right? And the 1,000-year period is going to be the 1,000-year period of us just setting back natural order, right, to the world, and just setting things back up. But it says here, we didn't receive the mark of the beast, the MOTB, right? We rejected it. Right. And just like we're teaching now for you all to reject this mark. Then it goes on to say, but the rest of the dead live not again until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection. Now, this goes into multiple things, because 2/3 of our people are going to die here on this side, and they're going to be reborn, into the kingdom through us, the elect that make it. Of course, all of the elect will make it, even the ones that's beheaded will be raised back up, right? With Yahweh Shai in establishing of the new kingdom, right? And the heathen, right, are going to basically be subject to the Israelites, right? And eventually they're going to go off and have their own lands, and after the 1,000 years of just beating the law into them, right, or teaching them the law, if they go off of course, we're going to have to punish them, right? So after that period of time, everything could be set, right? Everything is being course how it needs to be. Of course, the heathen will still be going off because only the Israelites will have the law in their inward parts. It says, blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection. On such the second death hath no power, which is the nuclear destruction that's going to come. It says, but they shall be priests of Yahweh Bashmiel Shai and of Yahweh Shai, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. All right. Now, once again, we would usually skip this, and I just want to bring it out real quick. We usually skip this because this is not in order, right? And some false prophets use that to corrupt the scriptures, basically, because they lack understanding, pretty much. All right, Second Ezra 2. And so this is a precept, basically, to that situation, you know, about the kingdom and how we're going to reign 1,000 years. And we you know, didn't follow after the Esau, right, after the heathen or anything like that. So this Second Ezra chapter 2, verse 22, it says, 42, I, Ezra, saw upon the Mount Zion a great people whom I could not number, and they all praised the Lord Yahweh Bashmiel Shai with songs. And in the midst of them was a young man of high stature, taller than all the rest, and upon every one of their heads he set crowns, and was more exalted, which I marveled at greatly. This is Yahweh Shai. It says, so I asked the angel and said, Sir, what are these? He answered and said unto me, These be they that have put off the mortal clothing and put on the immortal, right? Those are the new bodies that we're going to receive. It says, and have confessed the name of Yahweh Bashmiel Shai. Now are they crowned and receive palms, right? So confessing the names Yahweh, right, and Yahweh Shai is key, right? It's a great part of it. It says, then said I unto the angel, what young person is it that crowneth them and giveth them palms in their hands? So he answered and said unto me, it is the son of Yahweh Bashmiel Shai, whom they have confessed in the world. Then began I greatly to commend them that stood so stiffly for the name of the Lord Yahweh Bashmiel Shai. And that goes into not receiving the mark of Esau, right? And not trying to lean on his world, right? We're returning back to Yahweh Bashmiel Shai and seeking law, statutes, and commandments to the best of our ability, right? It says, then the angel said unto me, go thy way and tell my people what manner of things and how great wonders of the Lord thy power thou hast seen. All right, so that's exactly what we do now, you know. So anyway, going back to here, like I said, you will read 1 to 3, you will skip 4, 5, and 6 because this is, you know, not talking about that. Then you go down to 7, 8, and 9. So what I'm gonna do is read it. Satan bound, Revelation 28 and 1. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years, and cast him into the bottomless pit, and shut him up, and set a seal upon him, that he should deceive the nations no more till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. And after that, he must be loose a little season. Now, the bottomless pit will be Europe, right? It has no resources. Basically, there's nothing there, right? The bottomless pit will be Europe. This is where Esau, Edom, the Roman Empire, was basically brought down. You know, and the Israelites basically took power through the Byzantine Empire, right? That's what it was called. Esau calls it the Dark Ages, but he lied. All right. So that's what happened. He was bound 1,000 years, and that was from like 96 AD to like the 1400s, right? When you had Cristobal Colon go out and sail to the Americas and pretend that he found some land that never mankind dwelt or anything like that. But our people was actually there too, right? So skipping that part, Revelation 20 and 7, it says, and when 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loose out of his prison. All right, so going to the 1400s, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth. And that is what he has done and is continuing to do. He deceived the world to make them believe that he's just the best thing since sliced bread. He's so moral and correct, right? That's why he gave them the title white, right? Which means everything that's good. And he pretty much gave his slaves, who are the Israelites, right, the title of black, which pretty much just means everything that is bad. And we are the former of all things. We are the best things since sliced bread. We are the salt of the earth, right? And the apple of the Lord's Yahweh Bashmiel Shai's eye. Right, so Satan just deceived the world to making them believe that it's not true. But anyway, it says, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four corners of the earth, Gog and Magog. This goes to Russia, the land of Russia. It says to gather them together to battle. So it was their decision always to basically battle with Russia, and ultimately it's because of money, because all wars are bankers' wars, and Russia wanted to join NATO so many times, right? But they never allowed, Russia to join. It says the number of humans in the sand and the sea. So this battle is going to be a great battle because this battle ultimately will be World War III, and that's what we're fastly approaching now in these last days. All right. So that was my point that I wanted to grab. So he mentions the beast in this video. I'm going to play a few clips of it, and like I said, I'll read Revelation 17.
Macron with a approval rating below 20%. I think it's below 10. Therefore, he doesn't have the authority to rule. I thought that majority rules, but hey, what do you work within the system? Wait 5 years until you kick him out or something. So Zelensky visits Macron and he gets a deal. He gets an agreement to strengthen Ukraine's defense sector. And Zelensky Stein will receive 100 Rafale fighter jets. My question is, how will Ukraine pay for 100 Rafale fighter jets? It's a bankrupt country. I tell you, you and I will pay for that. Why? Because the people in charge of us know better. And they cannot tell us what's going on because we can't handle the truth. All right, let's start with the first topic. Trump backs bill sanctioning any country cooperating with Russia. I didn't know that the U.S. is in charge of the world. Is it?
All right. I don't know if that was too loud, but slap here when I be hitting the pause button. But anyway, this is Job 9:24, right? Job 9:24 says the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof, if not where and who is he? And that goes to what I was speaking about earlier, what they call the Dark Ages, which is actually the Byzantine Empire, right, which is left out of history, pretty much is them covering the faces, right, of the judges, because during that time, when they came into power, they took all the images and they whitewashed them, right, through something called iconoclasm. The statues, they broke the noses off, right? If I remember correctly, this was the first Maccabees 3 and 48. Says started 46, First Maccabees 3 and 46. It says, wherefore the Israelites assembled themselves together and came to Maspah over against Jerusalem, for Maspah was the place where they prayed aforetime in Israel. So the Israelites gathered and they prayed. It says, then they fasted that day and put on sackcloth and cast ashes upon their heads and rent their clothes. It says, and laid open the book of the law. The book of the law is the Bible, our book. It says, wherein the heathen has sought to paint the likeness of their images. So the heathen, Esau, Edom, and the rest of them opened up that book and they wanted to paint their likeness of their images in our books, right? Because they want to be us, right? And they can't be us. That's why you have the cosplayers in Israel now saying that they're Jewish, right? Because they want to be us and they cannot be us. All right, so they painted their images over our images, right? That's why everything you read and see is so-called, white people, but really was brown people that did that. And that's why even now people are finding out things like Beethoven, the whole lie with the Wright brothers and things like that is because these devils pretty much go in and they either pay you like to take over your thing, or they just say we invented it. I was watching one video where this dude, Benjamin, not a Jew, was talking to his crowd and he said, anybody got an iPhone in here? Yeah, he's like, yeah, that came from Israel. We made that. This is a fucking lie. So they lie about all that stuff because they want to be us, and that's what they do, and they're gonna try to get rid of the museums now, right? And Trump wants to put Nero 47 wants to put, like, I don't know, some great history in there, because all they have in there is the fact that he put the Israelites into slavery. They want to replace it with something, and really there's nothing to replace it with. So I'm waiting to see what they're gonna do with that. I'm also waiting to see what I can't wait to see what the two pit bulls do. So I is going off a little bit, but the two pit bulls do with this debate, because I was watching a video where they say, you know, all nations can be safe, some bullshit, some made up lie, of course, right? And then they was talking about, oh, we don't want to debate about it. I was like, hold on now, y'all debate about everything, you know. So go ahead and debate about this. So anyway, I can't wait to see that debate and see how they gonna do it, you know, because it's bullshit. How can you debate bullshit? But we'll see. They usually do a good job at debating bullshit. So Job 9:24 says the earth is given to the hand of the wicked. So yes, they control the world. These are the Edomites, right? They have the power. This is the revised Roman Empire back in power now, right? And the chief of them is the Amalekites, right? The banking elites, the JOOs, they run the world. They decide what goes on. But, you know, now in these last times, pursuant to Joel 3, the weak are saying that they're strong. They're rising up. They're not listening to their masters anymore, because pretty much all the nations are just slaves to these banking elites, right? They go out, they take your nation's resources, you know, cause wars and fund both wars. Now everyone's in debt, right?
And you can say, well, you know, any country can implement whatever policies regarding everybody else. Yeah, but you understand that one definition of terrorism is trying to change a country's policies by using, you know, methods of blackmail, threats, boom, boom, boom. Doesn't that sound like you do what I tell you? Otherwise, you change your opinion, your behavior. Otherwise, I will smack you. Doesn't that sound close to that? If you think it does.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they do, and that's what they have done. This is Abu Khub, right? And we're seeing that big here with this Epstein list and how Israel is all over it, right? These Jewish people are all over it. Epstein, Mossad, and all of that. Let me get this in there, too. It says Habakkuk 2:14. It says, for as the waters fill the sea, the earth will be filled with an awareness of the glory of the Lord Yahweh Bashmiawashad, right? It says, what sorrow awaits you who make your neighbors drunk? You force your cup on them so you can gloat over their shameful nakedness. Now, this is what's happening with the Epstein list. You know, they talk about the cameras on every corner, the audio files, the emails. You know, even in one email, it says the dog that hasn't barked yet. They were referring to Nero 47 as the dog that hasn't barked, right? So he was in the mix of it, and he was just there watching. You know what I mean? Whatever, all that shit that's going on, and he didn't speak about it. You know, whatever the case may be, but they forced it on him basically. You know, you're in a dark room, you're getting a massage, you turn the lights on. Turns out you're a PDF file, right? You never knew, but now you do, right? It says, Habakkuk 2:15, what sorrow awaits you who make your neighbors drunk? You force your cup on them so you can gloat over their shameful nakedness. It says, but soon it will be your turn to be disgraced. Come drink and be exposed. Drink from the cup of the Lord's judgment, and all your glory will be turned to shame. So they built their glory off of lies, for one. That's how they went out and deceived the nations. And now the world sees them for who they are. Everyone's talking about the bubble tea, right? I never liked drinking bubble tea anyway. Anyway.
I hope that happens to you. Why? I'm sorry to bring it personal, but I think personal helps very much. Abstract, yeah, it's good. Yeah, we can do that. It's fantastic. But some people work on personal. And why? China buys it, India buys it and sell it further. I'm talking about oil and gas. China voices opposition to unilateral sanctions, rejects U.S. anti-Russia restrictions.
And that goes to the fact that they want to go to war with Russia, right? So they're telling China, hey, China, listen, you know, just don't do business with Russia no more. We're trying to strangle them right into submission, basically. But I wanted to get right here.
Shoulder if you move. That's holding a line. Next one about the Spartans, by the way. According to the Russians, Russia, the United States of America, actively discussing Ukrainian peace process. That's fantastic, because the war is not between Ukraine and Russia. The fight is between the guys in charge of the Anglo-Saxons using their NATO arm, military arm, to spread their influence and dominance over the globe. That's it. Further than that is just details. So Russia says we might have gotten the guys who represent the beast at a negotiating table. It doesn't mean that they're not trying to stab us in the back while they show us the beautiful moon. Hey, Ivan.
All right, so like you said, they have the guys that represent the beast at the table, right? And ultimately, the beast, pursuant to scriptures, is a system, right? That's been operated and controlled by the banking elites, of course. So I just want to read Revelation 17, because it goes into that beast and the whore that sits upon it. Right here, the doom of Babylon. All right. I got my Bible open, so I'm gonna read it from there, and I'll try to keep track with scrolling it down for you to read along. This is Revelation 17:1. And there came one of the seven angels which had the seven vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. Ultimately, her ways, her philosophies, right? How she went out and deceived the nations into making them believe that, she was the right way to follow. Verse 3 says, So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet colored beast, full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns. We get the word blasphemy right there. It says slander, detraction, speech, injurious to another's good name. Yeah, and they do this a lot regarding Yahweh Bashman Shai, and of course they do this in Israel. A lot of people are mad. Oh, I would guess God in general. They're mad at God in general because of what Israel is doing. The things that they're doing is blasphemous. All right. All right. So it says, verse 3 again. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet colored beast full of names of blasphemy, having 7 heads and 10 horns, which goes into governments, kingdoms, basically. It says in the 10th verse 4, and the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornications. I believe it's Jeremiah 52:1. Let me see. Could be 50. Right. Jeremiah 51:7 says, Babylon have been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad. They're upset because Psalm 55:20 says that they have broken their covenant. All right. So they lied. It was all lies. Jeremiah 55:7. It said, Jeremiah 51:7, it says, Babylon have been a gold cup in the Lord's hand, a cup that made the whole earth drunk. The nations drank Babylon's wine, and it drove them all mad. Yeah, because it was all bullshit, right? It was just lies. And you can see that now the nations are upset. Their kingdom is collapsing, like the different governments are collapsing and things like that because of the ways of Babylon ruling the world. And ultimately goes back to the banking elites trying to accomplish some type of agenda, right? It says, verse 4, and the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color and decked with gold and precious stone and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and the abominations of the earth. Right. And we're noticing that now in real time as she gets exposed. Right. America is being exposed to be that harlot full of abominations. Nahum 3 and 5, it says, I am your enemy, says the Lord Yahweh Bashmal Shah of heaven's armies. And now I will lift your skirts and show all the earth your nakedness and shame. I will cover you with filth and show the world how vile you really are. Right. And that's why you have Isaiah 32, where it says the vile person shall no more, be called to speak liberally. Right. They're being found out and shown to the world. Isaiah 32 and 5, in that day, ungodly fools will not be heroes. Scoundrels will not be respected, right? And that's why pretty much the world is turning on these people. Isaiah 32 and 5, the vile person shall no be called liberal, nor the troll shall be bountiful. All right, there's a great divide happening in Babylon, even with the Magers. The Magers are divided, Verse 6 says, and I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Yahushai. And when I saw her, I wondered with great admiration. Yeah, because this woman took the Israelites into slavery. Right? They took the Israelites to slavery and slaughtered us, and they're gonna even martyr, some of the prophets now in these last days, right? By beheading them. It says in verse 7, and the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee of the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carried her, which have the 7 heads and 10 horns, right? And matter of fact, let me go over here to Revelation 11 and 7. It says, and when they shall have finished their testimony, the beast that ascendeth out of the bottomless pit shall make war against them and shall overcome them and kill them. Kill the prophets. It says, and their dead bodies shall lie in the streets of the great city, which is spiritually called Sodom and Egypt, where also our Lord was crucified. It says, and they of the people and kindreds and tongues and nations shall see their dead bodies 3 days and a half, and shall not suffer their dead bodies to be put in graves. Roughly 350-year period, right, of us being in slavery and basically not knowing who we were as a people. And no one told us who we were as a people, right? They actually tried to hide this information by covering the faces of the judges, right? Whitewashing the images and covering history by saying that the Byzantine Empire was just the Dark Ages and nothing happened. So verse 7 says, and the angel said unto me, Revelation 17 and 7, and the angel said unto me, wherefore didst thou marvel? I will tell thee the mystery of the woman and of the beast that carrieth her, which hath the 7 heads and 10 horns. The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and this is the Roman Empire, because the Roman Empire was and then it fell, right? It says, and shall ascend out the bottomless pit, which is Europe, and go into perdition, which is destruction. Ultimately, America will be destroyed again, completely this time, and never rise again. It says, and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. Right, because what? America rose out of the bottomless pit, pursuant to Revelation 20, went out and deceived the nations. Right, they even deceived the 2/3, of course. Right, so their name is not written in the book to be the elect. It says, verse 9, and here is the mind which have wisdom. The 7 heads are 7 mountains on which the woman sitteth, which is governments. Right, and the woman is, of course, America. It says, and there are 7 kings, 5 are fallen, and one is at this current time when John the Revelator was writing this, is what? The Roman Empire. It says, and the other is not yet come, and when he come, he must continue a short space, which was the British Empire. It says in the verse 11, and the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th. So remember, the beast that was and is not, he's the 8th, because out of Rome came what? America. So that's Babylon. It says, and the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and go into perdition, which is destruction. So America will be destroyed by thermonuclear warfare, right? In World War III by the hands of Russia and all of Russia's allies. Because why? They want to go to war with Russia, but it's going to end badly for them, basically. It says, verse 12, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the 10 kings, and the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings, which have received no kingdom as yet, but receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. And that's why, America's allowed to tell France to, send the missiles to Ukraine, and do this and do that and cause your country to go to hell, right? And you better do what I say because they're subjected to this beast, right? It says, these have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. All right, so NATO is going to do the bidding, right? And that's NATO. These 10 kings is NATO ultimately in this time now. It says, these have one mind and shall give their power and strength unto the beast, right? These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful, because ultimately we need to be delivered up out of here in this great war to come. So at the time of them getting ready for World War III and ultimately the nuclear missiles about to be shot, Yahweh Shai is going to be here. He's going to deliver his elect out of America first and foremost, of course, because this is where the great destruction is going to happen, but all over the four quarters of the earth, the four corners of the earth, wherever the elect is, Yahweh Shai will beam them up. But we need deliverance out of sudden imminent destruction, salvation from America, because America will be destroyed with nuclear missiles all over it. China got like one missile that can hold 61 warheads. All right. And of course, Israel is going to be fucking burnt to smithereens too, because that place is totally defiled. Right? They got all type of abominations walking around over there, taking people's lands and things like that. All right. So verse 15. It says, and he said unto me, the waters which thou sawest where the whore sitteth are peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. Right. So these nations that America is bullying around to do their bidding is starting to hate her because they're seeing that their country is failing. And not only that, the people. Job 20 says, every hand of the wicked shall come upon them when they're about to fill their belly. The people are uproaring in the streets. They're upset. They're trying to attack people. You have even here in America, a lot of the officials in America are moving to General's Row, which is a protected military base with housing for people, because the people are coming against them because the world is ending, and they're not happy because they can no longer get the things that they had before, like easy access to, food, water, shelter, and things like that. People are becoming homeless. Jobs are scarce. The food is poison and about to be not there soon. Verse 16, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Because ultimately, they're going to make a deal. Russia and the rest of them are going to make a deal. And we can already see some of those so-called NATO nations making deals with Russia, right? Like Turkey and things like that. Ultimately, and they're going to shoot their missiles also on America, because they're going to see that America is a problem in their eyes. In their eyes, obviously America is a problem. In Israel, it's a problem, because they're one and the same. It says, verse 17, for Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, in that verse 16 right there, you get Obadiah 1:7, where it says his trusted allies and NLT are going to make plans behind, let me grab it. It says, all the men of thy confederacy, Obadiah 1:7, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee, and there is no understanding in him. Yeah, so ultimately they're gonna make plans, for America, because they see America as their problem. Verse 17 says, for Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahweh shall put in their hearts to fulfill his will. So the Most High put it in their minds to fulfill his will, basically to allow America to become this great kingdom, right? To be the golden cup. Instead of you have all these different kingdoms trying to fight for power. No, America got it. America runs the world, right? Y'all gonna obey her until I tell you not to obey her. Right? Verse 17 says, for Yahweh have put it in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of Yahweh shall be fulfilled. Right? Because what? the scriptures talk about, and Elder Malcolm will bring this scripture out all the time. I think it's so fire, where it says, "Are not thou he who remaineth of the four beasts?" Let me see if I can find that. Are thou, or though, are thou not he whom remaineth? All right, so this is it's in the Apocrypha. All right, Second Esdras 11:39. I'll grab it real quick. Because his purpose is to allow this beast to rule for their space of time, and then ultimately set up a kingdom that shall never be destroyed. And that kingdom is that the kingdom of the Israelites, right? Of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, right? Righteous rulers that's going to rule the world in righteousness. It says, Second Esdras 11:38. It says, "Here thou I will talk with thee, and the highest shall say unto thee, Art not thou it that remainest of the four beasts, whom I made to reign in my world, that the end of their times might come through thee, through them?" Also more, they're gonna destroy each other, right? With nuclear warfare. It says, "And the fourth came and overcame all the beasts that were past, and had power over the world with great fearfulness." And that goes, bro, some of the American on the world, you don't know that. They do. It says, "And over the whole compass of the earth with much wicked oppression, and so long time dwelt he upon the earth with deceit." Once again, he went out to deceive the nations, right? So the purpose was America to run the world, right? That's why he didn't allow these other nations to get that power. They gave their power unto the beast. Verse 17 says, "For Yahweh have put it in their hearts to fulfill his will, and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city, which reigneth over the kings of the earth." Again, America does run the world. They reign over the kings of the earth. All right. So pretty much that was it. I'll play a little bit, see what else he got going on right here.
It's a beautiful moon, isn't it? Da. That's what happened in the past, and the Russians, it seems like, fuckingly learned the lesson. Next one.
And what he's saying now is because they're not listening no more. Like, why? Because we're the end, right? The Most High made these nations to be weak to America, because America is that golden cup, but the Most High is about to judge Babylon. All right. It says, Joel 3:9, "Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your poniards into spears, let the weak say, I am strong." Right, so America can no longer puff at his enemies and bully them, because they're stepping up, right?
The Americans are doing something that they could do it to you. Americans in the American government, I'm talking about, CNN. And I like that CNN finally finds this word in its repertoire regarding this issue. U.S. military.
This is wars and rumors of wars too, because what he's about to say is they struck not even near Venezuela. They struck near Ecuador, right? And I believe Ecuador is probably where one of those detention centers are at, actually. So I don't know if it really matters too much, but we'll see. Wars, rumors of wars.
Carried out 21st strike on alleged drug boat. Why alleged? Because some people say it was a drug boat. That's not proven. And who did that? I'm going to tell you. Intelligence confirmed that the vessel was involved in illicit narcotics smuggling, transiting along the pop. And this happened in where? This happened in the, where is that? Come on. Southern Command, Pentagon. It is in South Pacific, East Pacific. Where is that, man? Come on, I know that. I lost it. The Pentagon conducted intelligence and Southern Command, were killed. All right, the vessel in Eastern Pacific. Where is Eastern Pacific? Well, let me show you. Let's see what we have here open. All right, we have this little Russian thing. All right, it's Pacific. I have to remind you, the United States of America is right here, okay? Is right here, okay? And right here somewhere, okay, with the Hawaii. So they did it here in East Pacific, somewhere in this area. Now they moved from here, from Caracas, Venezuela, they moved to Colombia and Ecuador. Ecuador just had a referendum, singular, and said that we don't want U.S. bases in our country. That's East Pacific right there. And Colombia said, we stopped sharing information with the Americans as the Brits did. And the Americans designated Colombia's president as being what exactly? Check it out. Check it out. Is that, well, we have to work for the good, like the masks.
So yeah, okay. So now they're having problems. They're completely divided, but that's the weak saying they are strong. So they're completely divided. America is falling, right? And the scriptures say, you know, I'll find it real quick. It says, look up because, let me see if I can find it. So Luke 21 and 28. Grab it real quick. It said the return of Yahushua, Luke 21:25, and there shall be signs in the sun and in the moon and in the stars and upon the earth distress of nations with perplexity, great confusion of what's happening, the sea and the waves roaring, men's heart failing them for fear and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven shall be shaken, ultimately with nuclear destruction. And they shall see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory, right, which is a chariot. That cloud is a chariot, a gigantic fathership, spaceship, if you will. It says, and when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads for your redemption draweth nigh. You know, so that's pretty much what's happening. Lord willing, you edify from the lesson. Shalom to the elect, which consists of men, women, and children. Shalom.